All right. Good morning. I just bought a new webcam, so we're testing it out here, see how it works. I feel like it's a little lagging, but hopefully it will get the job done for today. So, welcome to my first day of the Financial Pathways Challenge, where I'm going to teach you what path to take, or rather, how to get started on what path to take for your finances. With that being said, today is going to be day one, and we're talking about how to set a financial realistic goal. Because, everyone I talk to, they have financial goals and they don't know necessarily how to get to them or how to even start them. So, why do we set goals? Well, we set goals so that we know where we're going and how to get there, because without a goal, it's kind of like a roadmap. Without a goal, that's the destination. If we're going on vacation for the sole purpose of just driving aimlessly, then whatever. We don't need a goal. But in most instances, we do want a goal. So the purpose and direction of setting a goal is just to have that clear vision that provides us with a sense of direction and purpose when we have a specific target in mind, because every financial decision becomes a step towards that goal. And again, if we don't know exactly where we're going, it's hard to get there. When we went on a 4,000-mile road trip last summer, if we didn't know how to get to Vegas, we would probably still be driving, because I have no sense of direction. So that's why, for me, I know I need goals. And another power of goal setting is keeping that motivation and focus to reach your goal. Sorry, my brain has not turned on yet. But yeah, so goals act as a powerful motivator, because if you have a vision board and you have those goals, then it's a clear vision and it's the motivation to keep going when things get tough, because obstacles come out of nowhere. Doctor's bill comes up, an emergency happens, something happens that you lose focus and motivation. So when that goal is, like I said, a vision board or something, then that just keeps it right there, that it's there, you want it, that's what you want in life. So the clarity of the goal is enhanced, and even during challenging times, like I said, that you can still see it and hopefully get it and disregard the dog playing outside. He is not allowed in when I'm doing lives, so he is not too happy and he's trying to distract me. But prioritizing resources, setting financial goals encourages us to prioritize those resources, and it helps to be efficient with budgeting and resource allocation, ensuring that the money is directed towards what we really want. Because again, if we have a goal and something shiny comes over here, then we might lose sight of this goal that we want to accomplish. So it's the prioritizing of how you want to do your stuff. I'm also sick, so it's just trifecta and perfect storm right now. So make sure that your process is measurable, because clear goals, if you're saying that you want to make $1 million in the next year, well, how likely is that? if you're working minimum wage, the likelihood of you making $1 million in the next year is quite low. Just let's be real. So, I mean, when we measure and we're realistic, like, it allows for things to pop up. But then again, like I just said, that if we're not being realistic with our measurable and knowing what our goals are, then it's going to not only hinder us, but it's going to make us feel like we can't accomplish our goals. So that's why setting a measurable goal that each month I want to save X amount of dollars, well, that's measurable, and as long as you're making it realistic, then it's probably achievable. And I mean, it just enhances your financial confidence because, like I said, if you're actually accomplishing your goals, then your confidence is going to get better. Where if you set a goal and you can't accomplish it, well, that's just going to make you feel like a failure. And we all know what that feels like because everyone has failed at some point in time. And with finances and life, it's usually not failing. I consider it falling forward because as long as you learn something from it, you didn't fail. And hold on, I need to catch my breath for a second. And then we get into, after all of that, okay. So, section 2 that I'm going to be talking about is types of financial goals. Since we already talked about why we set financial goals, and did you know that 42% of people are more likely to achieve their goal if you write it down? That is by Gail Matthews. But it's true, like I said, that it works into our visionary part of the mind. If you're seeing this every day, then you are going to be more inclined to work towards that goal versus if it's just in your head and you don't see it, then it gets lost in our everyday, and sometimes we forget about it until a week later and we're like, shoot, we didn't do anything for our goal today or last 5 or last year. So that being said, what kind of goals do you have? So there are short term, which is typically a few months to a year. And that would be just like setting up that emergency fund or savings account, setting up retirement, pay off a credit card or a small personal loan, create a budget and stick to it for the next couple months, save for a specific upcoming expense like a vacation or household repair. Those are small or short-term income goals. And then we get into midterm financial goals. So that's usually your 1 to 5 years. And that might include saving for a down payment on a home or a significant purchase, paying off a car loan, since most car loans are 5 years or less. Contribute regularly to like your children's education fund if you have a 529 for your kids. If you don't know what that is, obviously you don't have it, which we talk about. But then increasing savings for career development or additional education. So if you're looking at starting a business or going back to school, or just establishing and contributing to a medium-term investment portfolio. And then you have your long-term financial goals, 5 or more typically. So that's going to be your retirement, pay off your mortgage, which I will talk more about paying off your mortgage 13 years faster in the upcoming days. But build a substantial investing portfolio because, I mean, the wealthy invest. If you want to be wealthy or be well off, you need to learn to invest. I know that's a scary thought, but it's not scary. I teach whole courses on it. Fund like your child's higher education. So not just putting in money from like a savings account or 529, but actually if you want to pay for their education, like even the next step, or planning for like your estate and legacy contributions, so that generational wealth. And I mean, you have to be, so things to consider when we're talking about goals is your balance and alignment. Because again, if your goal is to make $1 million in the next year, that balance is not going to align with anything, unfortunately, unless you're already well on that way. Because making $1 million, I mean, it's honestly, if you know the right tools, it's easier than making 100,000, which I have done class on also. But without the right tools, it's difficult to get there. And just being flexible with your financial goals. They may evolve. You may decide that $1 million isn't where you want to be, that you want that 500,000 would be like a good number for you. And that's one thing that we talk about is what is your like honeypot number? Sorry. And just being flexible with that, because life happens. Let's be real. There are circumstances that we cannot control, just like all of life. And then also your risk tolerance. So your risk tolerance is going to be a lot different if you're 25 versus if you're 50. Because 25, you're having fun. You might not be thinking about retirement. Whereas 50, you're almost to being able to get your retirement funds out. 59 and a half comes up fast, I feel like. But yeah, so I mean, a 25-year-old is going to have a lot less risk than a 50-year-old. It's just how fast you want your money to work for you and how much are you willing to lose. Because unfortunately with money, there is the risk factor. And I mean, just prioritizing, determining which goals are most critical and prioritize them based on urgency and importance. Because maybe a vacation is high on your list and you're not really thinking about retirement. Or the opposite, you want to save for retirement and you don't care too much about vacation. So it's just putting those priorities in place. And yeah, so what is your current financial situation? Because that also is a big determination. Like if you have a lot of debt, it's going to make things a little more difficult to be able to necessarily get where you want to go. But I mean, I started investing when I had pretty significant debt, and it's not impossible. Like you want to start investing and putting money into your savings account to earn that compound interest pretty much as soon as you can. And even with debt, you can start doing that. And one of my favorite things to do when it comes to goals are SMART goals. So if you are not familiar with that acronym, SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. So to be a SMART goal, it's not, I want to make more money. So a SMART goal would be, I want to make $100 in the next week by fill in the blank, doing whatever. So that is specific because it is $100 in the next week. It's measurable because you can figure out if you have that $100 in the next week. So, I mean, it's very measurable. Achievable, I like to hope that $100 in the next week would be achievable. I mean, there are so many things you can do nowadays to get that $100. Sell something on Marketplace or go donate plasma or just sell something that you made. Yeah, so it's not difficult. Relevant. Is making $100 in the next week relevant for you? Because, I mean, who wouldn't like an extra $100 a week? Time bound. So that would be that week. So you're not saying, I want to make an extra $100. Because, okay, what's your time frame? Well, that week is that part. So that is what a SMART goal is. And if you'd like, I have a nice little sheet that I created that goes over not only SMART goals, but just how to create goals in general that will work for you. And I mean, common like pitfalls for goals is just being unclear or vague, and that can lead to confusion and frustration. Because again, if you're not doing SMART goals and you're not like, oh, I want to do this specific in this amount of time and this and this and this, then you're going to step off the path and realize that you don't necessarily have what you are looking for. And that's why I help with SMART goals and just having that clear vision. Because again, going back to that road trip that we were on last year, if we did not have Google Maps, like we had Google Maps, we had a road atlas, we had several things, and there were a couple times where I feel like we still got lost. So, I mean, even with that clear road, we still had difficulties, and finances are no different. Because if you don't know where you're going, how can you get there? I mean, we could navigate by the stars, but that's still not going to get us to our exact location. But I mean, yeah, so you need to have a clear vision for where you want to go. And then procrastination. I just saw a thing on procrastination the other day that actually really hit home. And it was because we procrastinate because of our past. So if you kind of get distracted and just figure that you want to do this versus do what you're supposed to do, that's because in our past, we got distracted, and it's telling our brains that it's important, but not important enough, and that we are going to fail. It is our brain sabotaging us, because our brain literally just has one purpose: to keep us alive. It doesn't, I mean, our amygdala, which is our lizard brain, it doesn't care that you want to make $100 in the next week. It cares about you surviving. So then when we try to do something that is different and trying to do something of how to get that $100 in the next week, our brain tries to distract us into safe mode and into our pretty little box of comfort. So that is like kind of a little tiny why we procrastinate. And I mean, some people just have ADD and ADHD. But I mean, when we break down our goals into smaller tasks, like, okay, $100 over the next week could be about $11, $11.50, $12, about that per day. No, yeah, per day. Sorry, my brain, again, I'm not feeling the best, so brain is kind of foggy right now. But about that per day. So let's just say, yeah. So if you break it down further into like days, how much do you have to make a day to make that $100 in the next week? And then you set a deadline for each task and start with the easiest and just build momentum from those smaller, manageable tasks. So say you wanted to make $400 in a month. Well, then how could you make $100 a week? And like I said, even go down to days, which I feel like the week would almost be easier to look at than daily. But I mean, when you set unrealistic goals, it can lead to disappointment and demotivation, because if you're not completing your goals, then you're going to tell yourself that you're a failure, and then that portrays that for going into that spiral of I failed because I couldn't do it, and I couldn't do it because I failed. So it's like catch-22, and it's just the snowball effect going down the hill. So, I mean, low motivation after doing that can really hinder your commitment to the long-term goals, because if you're not doing your short-term goals, then your long-term goals are probably not getting done either. Just because if you aren't doing short-term goals, it's difficult to do those long-term because, again, you feel like a failure. You think you can't do it. And I'm here to tell you that you can. It's all in your brain, how you're talking to yourself, because we truly are our own worst enemy. We are the only one who's around us 24 hours a day and inside of our heads. So it's actually worse than just being around us 24 hours a day. But I mean, the fear of failure can paralyze the goal setting efforts. And again, because we're telling ourselves that we can't do it, we've never been able to do it, we've always been poor, I cannot do it, I will never do it. It's those limiting beliefs that we're telling ourselves, and we need to tell them to go away, tell the devil to get out of here, not today, Satan. Whatever you have to tell yourself when those thoughts pop up that you can't do it, because I'm here to tell you that no matter what your history, no matter what your past, you can accomplish your goals, because the future is not written. The past does not have to repeat itself. And I mean, when you have accountability for different things, it's easier to stay on course. So, I mean, a common pitfall is you don't have that accountability. You're not talking to someone about what goals you want, or holding yourself accountable. Because, I mean, it's easy to neglect our goals if we're not thinking about where we want to be. And if we are just ignoring that goal, we're not holding ourselves accountable, and no one is helping us stand accountable. So then that leads into ignoring and infrequently reviewing your goals can lack just that little oomph that we might need. And that's why I tell people to write your goal on a Post-it and post it everywhere so you see it every day, because we want to see it and refresh it and tell ourselves why we want that goal. Because, again, there are going to be days where we just feel like crap and we don't want to do anything. We want to sleep. We want to watch Netflix. We want to binge eat. But if you see that goal every day on a Post-it, it makes it easier when those moments pop up. So just we'll go over the strategies for achieving financial goals. My favorite is that breaking it down into smaller bite-sized tasks, because if you really do want to make your goal that I will make $1 million in the next year, well, breaking it down into smaller tasks tells you that you need to make $83,333.33 a month. That will get you $1 million. And just looking at that amount, again, can be a pretty big mouthful. So then go down weekly, go down daily, and that is a very large goal. But again, if you already have the footing to get there, it is realistic. But again, if you're making $50,000 a year, to go from 50,000 a year up to 83,000 a month, that's not necessarily realistic. It could be, don't get me wrong. But yeah, so then when we're doing that and establishing a realistic timeline for each task, the deadline seems like it's creating structure. And I mean, there's no seeming like it, but it is creating structure and urgency. And then you prioritize tasks by how you want to, or rather on the task's importance and urgency, and just you focus on the high priority tasks that align with your overall financial objectives. So you want to put those in a list of like 1 to however many on which is the most important, because you want to get those done. And sometimes I put priority, but then also which is the easiest to get done. Because if my priority is for the day is getting out of bed, or rather, if I have a list of priorities and it's getting out of bed, making the bed, brushing my teeth, cook breakfast, all of those, well, obviously I said it kind of in the order that I would, but getting out of bed is going to be the easiest, and I need to get out of bed in order to do the others. Where making the bed or brushing my teeth, sometimes brushing my teeth is easier, so I'll go do that, check that off, and then make the bed and then make breakfast. And I mean, even if making the bed is a priority over brushing my teeth, sometimes the easier one, it's just nice to get off the list and check it off. So that's, again, when you develop a checklist, so you can feel that sense of accomplishment in getting it done and getting it checked off. So, and you just want to also work on the power of compounding when it comes to setting your financial goals, because consistency, especially in savings and investing, leveraging the power of compounding. Like, I mean, we talk a lot in investing about compound interest and just the trickle down effect, but your money grows not just on the initial investment, but on the returns it generates over time too. So compounding can actually work in more than just the, okay, brain shut off now, but the compound of not just interest in investing, but trickling down, it is so important. And we'll talk more about that on Wednesday with the topic of consistency training and why being consistent is so important with your finances, because without it, the compound interest kind of flux. And yeah, but I mean, when we're tracking and adjusting our goals, like I said, life happens. Sometimes we need to adjust those goals. Because, I mean, maybe you find out you're pregnant and you weren't planning on being pregnant. So that is a major life thing that we need to adjust for. Babies are expensive. Just the stress and the importance of regularly reviewing and adjusting your financial goals. Because maybe in 3 months, you don't want to make $1 million a year anymore. Or, you know, tomorrow, maybe you decide that you want to buy a cabin. So, I mean, just adjusting and providing tips of different things that you want to do, and tracking the process and making necessary adjustments. It just goes hand in hand with goals. And just like life, everything changes. I mean, tomorrow is not guaranteed to be exactly like today. And that is why life is amazing. So, and the significance of having that clear goal with using the SMART goal criteria, it ensures that your goals are achievable. Because I mean, not only is that the A for SMART, But when you do SMART goals, you are more likely to accomplish them. And when you break them down into bite-sized manageable tasks, you're reducing your overwhelm, but also allows for the focused attention on specific actionable steps. So that makes it even more easy to accomplish it. And when you put it onto the realistic timeline, like I gave the week or a month or a year, when you put it in that time, it is telling your brain that it is bite-sized. I mean, I hate this analogy, but I'm going to use it anyway. You don't eat a cow whole. You don't even eat a steak whole. You have to cut it down into bite-sized pieces. I mean, shoving a 16-ounce ribeye in my face sounds amazing right now, but I literally could not fit it in my mouth, first off. So you have to do the bite size. And I mean, I've talked about it multiple times already just in the last 33 minutes, but you have to address the challenges and things that pop up and where to go from there. Because again, life happens. I mean, death of a family member, a wedding, a birth. Life happens, and we are not guaranteed tomorrow. So when we anticipate potential obstacles and developing consistency plans, then we can stay on focus and give ourselves in a lot of time if we have a death or a divorce, which is, I'll get into that later. But so it gives us the resilience needed to stay on track for what we need, what our goal is. And I haven't really touched on it now, but I will on Wednesday again. But financial habits, being consistent, turning things into a habit, it makes things so much easier. Because when we do consistency in small daily actions, it contributes to our positive financial health and knowing where we're going. And it takes 21 days to develop a habit. So if you set out with the mindset that you are going to change your life, as far as like your finances or working out, even just changing your life in general, 21 days. And we have to celebrate those milestones because we do get overwhelmed and burnt out sometimes. And when you're constantly working towards a goal, you sometimes only see the negative and what you're not accomplishing. And I want you to know that recognizing and celebrating achievements fosters a positive mindset, and it tells you that you can do this. And just having that little bit towards your financial journey, knowing that you are not where you were a year ago, 6 months ago, 2 weeks ago, this morning, just because of this little bit of financial goal helping you, that is a major achievement. And I am going to cut this one short just because I do feel like crap and my mind is not really sticking around too well for this. But I want to thank you for watching this, and the rest of the week should be longer. And speaking of, I wanted to touch base that I am doing a special 5th day, so day 5 on Friday. I'm doing a special, like, you have to apply to work or get it. It's still free, but you have to apply for it. So only a limited number of space, and I will include that with the replay, the link for that anyway, I mean. But we are going to talk about the #1 way to get where you want to go with your finances. And I cannot wait to share that with you guys. And I hope this benefited you. I can't wait to see you back tomorrow. Like I said, tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, should be 45 to an hour. I'm just under that 45 mark right now. But if you haven't noticed, I'm really fidgety and stuff right now because I just don't feel the best, and I apologize for that. But hopefully, I'm praying that tomorrow is better, health, wealth, and happiness. And I love you guys, and just know that you are closer than you think. And I cannot wait to start this journey with you. If you decide that is what you want,